And those subscribers, so even though I had a yucky day yesterday, today started out amazing. I got big boy cuddles, Davidcito. And then Serenity came over because she slept with her friends, the neighbors came over, gave me hugs. And then Davidcito's cooking breakfast now. So look at that. And all that action. So lovely. So sweet David made breakfast. He like from potatoes, like shredded them, made hash browns, eggs, and bacon. And so here I sit at the table studying. He sent out a little selection of salsas because he wasn't sure which one he wanted with his eggs. But he's fixing my plate and bringing it. Such a delight. So David just said that he was trying to hang out with his grandpa once a month. And that maybe he'll try again in New Year's. And I said, no, you can try sooner. Your grandpa's super forgiving. And so hopefully he'll heal pretty soon and you'll be able to hang out with him again. My dad would not let him come over today, although he blamed me. He actually did. Like, I assume he's doing a lot better than he was back in February because he was able to clearly articulate, like, the things that have happened over the last few months when we were dealing with his dementia and how it's impacted him. And, I can totally see from his perspective how he feels like I intentionally, like, I don't know, intentionally just tried to hurt him. Like, this evil, mean, tried to hurt him. That is not what happened at all. In any way, it's the actual opposite, but I do see his perspective, and I can't imagine how much hurt he's living with, especially knowing that, like, feeling that his daughter tried to hurt him like that. So, he said Davidcito could not come over today because if I think he's psycho, then I'll accuse him of throwing David in the river. And I said, well, I trust David to make decisions. And he said, well, then David can get in the car with me and I can drive it. I was like, no. And the truth is, when he got that car, David immediately messaged me so that David didn't have to be the tough person, but David didn't want to get in the car with him either because David saw him driving bad more than any of the rest of us did because he used to hang out all the time and give him rides. So that sucks. So Davidcito's a little sad today now. So this is going to be a long one. Here's the story. My mom had left my dad 3-4 years ago. Like, I don't blame her. She's been doing really great since she left him. Like, stable, happy, maintaining jobs and friendships. There are certain, like, negative things about her that was just to be expected before, and there's been a few times over the last few years where I assumed they were going to happen and they didn't. Like, she follows through, she can be trusted. So, and as a woman, I also don't think that we should be in relationships where we're not treated good. That is the het puppy. So my dad, though, fell apart. He already had problems with alcoholism, and he also has Crohn's disease. So he's had several surgeries and stuff. So at the point that my mom left, he got really bad. And, like, not only just, like, the drinking, but he actually, like, his brain stopped working where he became almost childlike, confused easily. There was a lot of paranoid delusions. Like, that was a real big difference. And then he started actually hallucinating as well. Visual and hearing hallucinations. So, and it just got worse and worse over time. There were a few random incidents, like where he got, like, locked in the basement of his building. He didn't really get lost, but, like, he was still able to cook and clean too, like those kind of basic things, but he would get confused about reality. He thought, like, people were living in the walls. There was a cop that lived behind him that he thought was spying on him. Just, like, strange stuff like that. So he lives downtown, and he was on top of his, I don't know how many, like, it's maybe 10-story, 12-story building, throwing stuff off of it. The police were called out. He kicked a police officer, took him to the hospital, or, like, he assaulted or something. I guess it'd be a battery, actually, not assault, but police officer. And then took him to the hospital where he kicked a nurse. I sat with him for days. He didn't know, like,
I mean, he was at the hospital, but he didn't like remember any of the like. He doesn't know why he was on the roof. I think he said like they were trying to poison him in the building, and he was evacuating the building or something. Like, I mean, it was some sort of weird paranoid delusion thing, and he said that the police dumped drugs down his throat, or the firefighter. It wasn't a police officer. It was this was back in February, so I don't remember all the details. You know, they're not a normal situation. My dad's 63, 64 maybe. And so, like, I'm already raising a kid and taking care of CCJ and, like, house and dog and all that weight. And so now I've all of a sudden, like I was randomly taking care of my dad, like taking him to a doctor appointment here and there, but now, like, I'm sitting at the hospital with him all day. And so the third or fourth doctor tells me he needs to go into a locked ward. Like, it's just too much. He can't be living on his own. And he can't live with me, he can't live with my grandma, so he really needs to go to a place. The psychiatrist had told us that, a neuropsychologist had told us that. I want to say the neurologist had questioned it. I feel like there was some other doctor. Maybe it is just 3 doctors that told us that. But I kept telling them, like, I want him to be independent as long as possible. And so, like, between my grandma and I, let's keep him dependent. But that him being up on the roof, like, he could have seriously hurt himself, and we can't prevent that. We can't prevent it all the time. And so the emergency room doctor was like, you have to hospitalize him. So my grandma's sister and I, we all discussed it and decided to do it. And because he was violent at the hospital, none of the good places in town would take him. And so, like, I mean, while he was still hospitalized, I spent, like, days and weekends driving and visiting places. We put him in a place, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good place at all. Like, I think they underfed him. It wasn't clean. But, like, my thought is he's safe. I'm visiting him. I think I was visiting him every day, almost every day, maybe every day. I surely talked to him every day when he would talk to me. I mean, of course, he was pretty mad at me. And by the time, it was like a week or two from the rooftop till when he got there, he was a little more, like, alert and aware of his environment. While he's there, I take care of his business. So my grandma and I did most of it, cleaning out his apartment, but my aunt came over. My uncle came over once and took it at his TV. My aunt came over and took a few things. But my grandma and I did most of it. Almost everything I took, I just donated. Like, I don't want it. I just gave it away or dropped it off at Goodwill. Like, I would pick it up and drive to Goodwill and drop his shit off. So, I had to get all his mail switched to my name or to my address, like dealing with his medical stuff. Sold his car, canceled his car insurance. He had life insurance, which would just went to the state since he's on Social Security, disability, whatever. And so they told me to cancel that. So I canceled that policy. So, like, I mean, like, I started managing his life. Then he calls the attorney and gets out. My grandma comes and picks him up. And I'm like, if we all decided that he's not safe on his own, like, how are you helping him get out? And we've given all his, like, we wrapped up his life. And so now he's out. And I couldn't handle it anymore. I blocked him on the phone. I blocked my dad and my grandma. And I just was done with this stuff. Like I was barely working, probably 20 hours a week at the most at CCJ while all this was going on. It was like a month or two of dealing with all this stuff with my dad. And I didn't mind, though. Like, I just loved him and wanted to help him. And even though sometimes it was frustrating, like, and I started getting anxiety attacks. Like, my counselor said, like, the adult me, like, loves him and wants to help him, and the child in me that got beat forever is like, what are you doing? Protect me. So I started having anxiety attacks and panic attacks even randomly, but so I blocked him. And it was like, my sister started getting the calls I used to get. These, like, just, I mean, angry, mean, but my dad and grandma, mean as hell, accusatory. So my sister was like, when you would say this, I thought you were exaggerating, but holy shit, like, she couldn't even listen to some of their messages. Like, it's too much. So my dad's back out, and we pretty much closed up his whole life. And so now that he's back out, he thinks that, like, well, no one admitted to having any role in any of it. My sister did, of course, but like my grandma, aunts, uncles that were all part of all of it, part of discussions, part of moving his shit. Like, none of them acknowledged their role in it, and they all just said it was me. And so he was like, I mean, hurt as can be. And now he seems to be pretty, like, alert and oriented times 4. And doesn't understand why I, like, did that to him. And of course, he doesn't remember how, like, just disconnected from reality he was. Here nor there, that's all adult stuff. I mean, it's dealing with dementia, and that's fine. What sucks, though, is for Davidcito losing his grandpa.
So this is like amazing. The house is silent. It's Saturday. I'm studying. It smells good. I'm drinking hot tea. It's fall. Can you see the fall leaves outside? Yeah. It's like a perfect day to be in the house studying, so that's great.